you, Haruka, for that wonderful introduction. I hope you can all hear me well as we move through these last slides and through the beginning of our presentation. We would like to recognize the history, strengths, and diversities of Canada's First Nations, Inuits, and Métis communities. We are committed at the center to engaging respectfully with Indigenous children, young people, and families within and across nations in what is known as Ontario. The city in which I stand, work, live, and study am joining this um, session today is the traditional unceded and surrounded territory of the Algonquin Nation and people. We'll invite you to share your land territory acknowledgement in the chat if you know of them. But if you don't, we encourage you to seek this information as it is valuable to our commitment to engaging with young people. The next slide. It talks about the center. So my name is Camille Santa Fe. I am a youth advisor at the Ontario Center of Excellence for Child and Youth Mental Health, which we like to call the center. It is funded by the province to support child and youth mental health agencies across Ontario in implementing high quality youth mental health service, high quality child and youth mental health services to ensure the best outcomes for children, youth, and families are there. We do this by working together with youth and families as stakeholders and cross-sectorial partners to mobilize evidence and generate knowledge in key areas of the child and youth mental health, such as primary care and care pathways, youth and family engagement, digital and e-mental health, and system initiatives. These focus areas evolve depending on the needs of the sector. Today's objectives, we will learn how to respectfully and meaningfully wrap up a peer support relationships. We know that all good things come to an end. So as this session will be our last session based on youth peer support, we'll provide a quick summary and takeaways of the pillars of youth peer support learning series. And as a group, we will talk and discuss a few questions related to ending a peer support relationship.
Alright, so I will be playing a video in a second. If you have any trouble hearing or any just technology issues, feel free to use the chat and let me.
All good things come to an end. Youth peer support relationships are no exception, as peer support is meant to be time limited and provided only as long as your peer needs and wants support. Peer support relationships can end for a variety of reasons. For example, things might come up unexpectedly for you or your peer, such as a move or new commitments that impact the time you have available. Sometimes peer support relationships end because you and your peer decide that support is no longer needed. Regardless of the reason, it's important to make sure both of you feel comfortable with how the relationship is ending and what comes next. We ask peer supporters for their advice on steps you can take to respectfully wrap up a peer support relationship. Here are some of their suggestions. Carve out time to meet one-on-one with your peer to discuss why the relationship is ending. Take the opportunity to reflect on the good times, lessons learned, and milestones that took place during the relationship. Talk about your peers' plans for the future, including supports that will be available in case they need them. Most importantly, be warm and kind, and don't rush this step. Closure is so important as your peer support relationship comes to an end. Just as youth peer support relationships come to an end, this learning series must also come to an end. Throughout these videos, we've explored some important considerations about youth peer support. To recap, here are some highlights. Youth peer support is about listening, showing empathy, and connecting with another person. As a youth peer supporter, you have the power to support your peers' wellness journey and help them find balance and a better quality of life. Communication is at the heart of youth peer support. Pay attention to the language you use, practice reflective listening, and remember that there are healthy ways to talk through tricky conversations. A key ingredient of peer support is a sense of shared identity or experience between you and your peer. Sharing your story is a great way to create connections and strengthen the bond between you and your peer. Remember that it's important for you to accept differences and value the person you're supporting. It takes practice, reflection, and an open mind to feel comfortable working in a partnership with people who are different from you. Be mindful of triggers, both your own and those of your peer, and the limits to the privacy between you and your peer. If your peer expresses that they want to hurt themselves or someone else, you must tell someone. Don't forget to look out for yourself too. As a youth peer supporter, self-care and boundaries are crucial. You can't take care of others if you don't take care of yourself. It's also important to develop connections with others in your community, both for yourself and for your peer. These connections with supportive people and resources in your community can play an important role in supporting you while you support your peer. Finally, don't forget about the importance of closure. Regardless of why a peer support relationship is ending, you and your peer need to feel comfortable with how it's ending. Remember, there's a lot to learn about peer support, and these videos are just the beginning. To support you on your journey, check out these resources for more information. Thanks for watching.
Okay. So now we're entering this phase for open space technology. It How it works is in the next 10 minutes we are meant to provide a safe space where we can discuss and reflect on the video's content. The rules are that anyone can participate. You can share your answer perspectives through the chat or speak through your microphone if you feel comfortable. This is a safer and brave space, which means that your lived experience are valid, they are powerful, and they are respected. When the conversation is over, it is over. So we have a few questions for today. The first one, if you have access, um, peer support yourself, how did the relationship come to an end?
Phoebe, I don't know if we can hear you. If any of you are interested in sharing over your mic as well, feel free to let me know. And I think you
Uh,
will. Oh, yeah, we can hear you. I was just sharing that you can share over your mic as well if you feel more comfortable doing that.
yeah, that's totally a valid point. So Pikachu shared with us that um, their peer support relationship ended kind of abruptly, but it was a good ending. Um, I can relate to that. I had a peer support relationship through school, and my peer supported moved away, and they didn't let me know. Um, I was looking for them throughout on the session, um, and they let me know a little after that they had to move due to um, a multitude of inconveniences and some responsibilities they had to follow. They did provide us some context, and I was happy that They did let me know, even though it was afterwards. Um, and it's like the video has mentioned, closure is important, and it will always be valid, no matter if it's something that you would like to hear or you won't like to hear. Again, honesty is very important in peer support, as we have learned throughout the first and second videos, and making sure that we establish boundaries as a peer supporter and be respectful of those while we are providing that support to others. So, Togepi, um, oh, that was a comment about my audio, but um, Togepi is mentioned as well something about the closure. Um, and Dito is mentioning often I have had peer support relationships and gradually like Togepi, and that's true. Something that I like to do as I'm providing peer support is really understanding the goals. Like, what am I providing support in, and how long will that take? And really make sure that I plan that out with my peer to make sure that they know the amount of time that I will be there to support and when are we going to do so. Another piece of it is that whenever the day comes and we had agreed that up to that day will the support will last, we can reevaluate and make sure that if there is a need of more support, we can be there present, depending on your responsibilities or your limitations. But also, like mentioning before, if the peer needs more additional and critical support, there are resources out there in the community that you could refer them to. Again, peer supporters are no counselors nor therapists. They're there to support the navigation of their journey within mental health and provide limited support when it comes to reaching out and connecting peers to services or community services, mental health services, and so on. Dito has also mentioned in the chat that in their experience it has been okay that way because it was more community-centered peer support, but in other contexts it could create challenges. Yes, when a young person is going through a challenging experience, and having a support network that is there, and somehow they're not there anymore could be a little bit overwhelming to know what's the next step. This is why it is important to really clarify, like I mentioned before, clarify your boundaries, their boundaries, what is the objectives, how can you help them, and really make a plan along the way of how you two are going to transition in that ending. Um, there are moments that this is not doable because of various limitations, of various circumstances, but it's really important that you come um, in conclusion that you provided that closure and that person received that closure. Although it may not be something likable, that they can hold on to it and remember this support is finalized. It's time to look for other peer support or perhaps to look for other venues. Um, it's part of the self-care journey, is part of the navigation of the journey and wellness as well. And people, I'm sorry, people um, had an informal peer support experiences with friends as well, and they're not sure if they're ever ended, but somehow keep going in and out. And that's true. When we're supporting our friends in our close circle, um, there are instances where that a specific circumstance that we were providing support in is solved. But since we are still friends, we're still in the network, we're still around in the circle, and that topic perhaps has been evolved to better um, roads or better stage. And whenever that person or our friends needs that support is happy, is great, and is healthy to know that there is somebody there to support them in whatever they're going through. And Dito also shared that when they were doing peer support in a clinical setting, they weren't able to have a proper goodbye ending because COVID happened. Definitely wish they had been able to have those conversations. This is a wonderful experience as we are living in this ongoing journey of COVID-19, and I think the more we are evolving within technological pieces in clinical settings, we are understanding the need of expanding this type of services to where young people are at. And one of these is virtual walk-ins or um, video chat or text messages or so on. Um, Again, being mindful of those limitations and those barriers that could present. And Togepi also mentioned that the content of the last sessions feels so important too for both ends. Yes, it is. You are totally right in this area, as every session has let us know that we're coming to this piece as we're navigating through it. And once we got here, um, that division of journey doesn't mean that you'll never see them anymore. It's just that as we continue moving on in through our own paths and hopefully and thankfully provided to the best and greatest extent of our knowledge, the support that our peer needed at that time when they were going through some sort of struggles or challenges or crisis. And the to also mention not being able to have conversations around endings or goodbyes. That's true. It could be a little bit triggering for some people, especially those who have challenges with attachment or challenges with people going away. So in certain settings, there is an option to do this, but in other settings, this is not so available to protect the integrity and the wellness of both the peer supporter and the peer itself who is receiving the service. Now, being mindful of the time, what was helpful and what would you have done differently in these scenarios that you have shared with us? Is there anything that you would like to? And I know that I have heard already and see already that being able to have that conversation about the ending and saying goodbye. And that's also actually really great. And one person that could support you or people that could support you on this, on how to have this conversation, will be your adult allies. Remember we talked about this a few videos back on making sure that you have an adult or an adult support to connect to so you can debrief and also ask some questions surrounding specific topics that you may have no much knowledge about. They could support you on how to integrate this type of topic into the conversation and also being mindful of your emotional state and emotional well-being while also providing that space for the peer you are supporting. Dido also mentioned that we'll have started having those conversations earlier. Yes, and start talking about it even weeks or months before the periods of a relation will end. That's a really good point, and Togepi is backing up that point as well. As we are learning more and more, and there is more evidence and more research and more practices within peer support, we are understanding different ways to establish and to prepare that journey from the very beginning as a planning process, as a step guiding journey rather than a more informal. It is important to acknowledge that some peer supporters do provide support to friends like we have seen it, but also it's necessary that even with friends we have those planning pieces. So we're able to detach certain conversations and we're able to also bring those crucial points that at some time and at some part of the journey will have an ending point of that support. We also would like to invite you to share with us after watching all of these videos. Um, do you feel more capable to providing peer support with your friends or your colleagues or those who are of your network in a way that is healthy, in a way that is really mindful of yourself and your well-being and also the well-being of your peer? By the way, I'm loving the Pokemon names. Um, totally imagine myself, Pikachu saying this, and those mindful moments that these Pokemons are sharing with us is wonderful.
Now I'm wondering if they provide peer support for each other in the game as well,
Totally.
or in the show.
It's funny that you mentioned that because there are multiple episodes where Pokemon will support Pokemon each other, so this is like a great point to bring. But Pikachu is definitely feeling more knowledgeable about peer support, and feel more confident in their ability to apply that stuff. But I definitely want to learn uh, more into it. Yes, that's true. There is awesome resources in Ontario and awesome organizations that provide this type of services, such as Youth Line, Youth LGBTQ line. They provide peer support services online, and due to the pandemic, they also have expanded their services to online platforms. There is a Stella's Place that also provide wonderful trainings, certified and accredited trainings based on evidence and recent knowledge that it comes out from literature as well. Live experiences. These are available to practitioners, these are available to young people themselves, and they're within Ontario. You can contact them on their website, and I'm gonna take a moment to write their names so you have a chance to look them.
Thank you for sharing those resources in the chat there. We will be posting the recordings on the website for Your Space as well. And on that resource page, we can include all these different links for additional information too.
Thank you, Pikachu, for joining us through this session.
And just responding to your last question there, Camille, I think it's been a great opportunity just to reflect on the different aspects of peer support and what it means to provide peer support, what it means to receive. Because I feel like a lot of times we are put in situations where we're providing peer support without even really being able to reflect the impact on ourselves. And I think that's been the most helpful for me in just recognizing what I need from the peer support relationship and how I can do that in a way that it doesn't cause any more harm and just genuinely be there for that support piece. And so it's been a really awesome experience to kind of reflect on that and also just have a better understanding of what peer support looks like. So thank you so much, Camille.
You, and I'm very thankful of this time and this space that you have provided to share this information. Again, all of these resources are available online on YouTube and the Ontario Center of Excellence for Child and Youth Mental Health website that you can find it at cymh.ca. And more information about peer support, And also, again, there is lots of places that can provide you with that training. Um,
All right. Thank you so much, Camille, and thank you for responding to all of the different comments that were shared in the chat. And also thank you to all of you that shared in the chat as well, to make this a meaningful session for everyone. It'll be great watching it after and having the youth kind of see the conversations happen as well. And hopefully their thoughts are captured in what we share today. As like I said earlier, all of these sessions have been recorded and they will be posted shortly on the OurSpace resource page, in addition to all the resources that have been shared over the course of the last 5 weeks. And again, just want to say a big thank you to Camille and all of the center staff that have supported you in collaborating with us, and as well as all of you for joining for the past 5 weeks. It's been wonderful just spending the Thursday afternoon like having to reflect, and it's been nice, and we kept it fun, and I'm happy to end on a Pokemon theme. All right. Feel free to share any questions or comments if you have anything. And otherwise, please have a great evening. Take care, everyone.